evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Sultanate condemns and denounces the terrorist ramming attack, which took place in the French city of Nice. France declares 3 days of national mourning and extends the state of emergency for another 3 months after 84 people were killed in a terrorist attack in Nice. And Salalah Tourism Festival activities start under the theme Oman, Love and Peace. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. An official source in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs expressed the Sultanate's condemnation and strong denunciation of the terrorist ramming attack, which took place in the French city of Nice and resulted in the death of 84 people and injuries of more than 200 children, women and men. In a statement to Oman News Agency, the source emphasized the Sultanate's stance and solidarity with France in facing terrorist acts in all forms, expressing sincere condolences to the families of the victims, the government and people of France, wishing speedy recovery to the injured. World leaders are expressing dismay, sadness and solidarity with France over the attack carried out by a man who drove a truck into crowds of people celebrating France's National Day in Nice, killing at least 84 people. French President François Hollande declared 3 days of national mourning starting Saturday. Flags were lowered to half-staff in Nice and in Paris, and the state of emergency imposed after the November bloodshed was extended for another 3 months. Hollande and Prime Minister Manuel Valls arrived in Nice today following a deadly attack in the resort city. The French leaders were briefed on the situation by police, gendarmes and military representatives, as well as representatives of medical authorities. Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve was already in the city and attended the meeting. French police officials said identity papers found alongside the attacker behind the killing spree in southeastern Nice belonged to a 31-year-old Frenchman of Tunisian descent with previous misdemeanor convictions, but without a known link to extremist groups. The suspect died in a shootout with police after mowing down dozens of people with a truck on Nice's seaside Promenade des Anglais during National Bastille Day revelry on Thursday. US President Barack Obama condemned what appeared to be a horrific terrorist attack in Nice. He said, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the families and other loved ones of those killed." British Prime Minister Theresa May is calling for nations to redouble efforts to defeat violent extremists following the attack in Nice. She called the attack horrifying and said Britain will stand with France in its time of mourning. His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, met in Salalah the United Nations envoy to Yemen, Ismail Weld Sheikh Ahmed, and delegations of Ansarullah Group and General Popular Conference Party during their visit to the Sultanate. During the meeting, they discussed political consultations between the Yemeni government and delegations of Ansarullah Group and General Popular Conference Party prior to presumption of Yemeni peace consultations in Kuwait. The visit of the UN envoy to Yemen came within the context of what is being done by the Sultanate to achieve peace and stability in Yemen and in affirmation of support to efforts being made by the state of Kuwait in order to reach a solution to the Yemeni crisis. Activities and events of Salalah Tourism Festival 2016 inaugurated today and last until 31st of August under the theme Oman, Love and Peace. The festival organizing committee said this year will include several activities on various religious, economic, heritage, social, cultural, sport and entertainment fields, which suit different age groups in addition to heritage, cultural and entertainment competitions, and touristic offers. The festival will also include many activities and programs, such as the Traditional Village, which highlights a side of traditional handicrafts, arts, games, food and costumes. The official and public agencies are prepared to ensure the success of the tourist season for this year and to receive visitors in the Governorate of Dhofar, as well as provide various facilities and services for tourists. Still to come in our news bulletin, the building of E-Team Studio in Salalah is considered a new addition for the radio and television's work and to broadcast the Kharif weather and other related activities for the audience.
هنا الرائحة العالقة بالذاكرة تأخذنا دهشة مختلفة لتبهرنا بجمالها الآسر حيث ملتقى الأسرة. امنح نفسك شغف التجربة، فهنا حكاية الجمال لا تنتهي. مهرجان صلالة السياحي 2016 من 15 من يوليو إلى 31 من أغسطس. عمان، المحبة والوئام.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met with Russian President Vladimir Putin about boosting military and intelligence cooperation against the Daesh group and Al-Qaeda in Syria, and told him that without concrete near-term steps, diplomatic efforts to end the war could not go on indefinitely. Kerry met Putin for 3 hours at the Kremlin today. Kerry expressed concern about repeated violations of a cessation of hostilities by the Moscow-backed Syrian government. It said the two also discussed the need to increase pressure on groups like Daesh and the Nusra Front, Al-Qaeda's affiliate in Syria. Discussions between Kerry and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov were expected to explore initiatives in more detail. Putin said at the start of his meeting with Kerry that his last conversation with US President Barack Obama had convinced him that both sides were sincere in their efforts to find a solution in Syria. Iraqi security sources mentioned that 5 militants from the Daesh group were killed and 9 others wounded during an airstrike conducted by international coalition that targeted locations of the group in northern Baghdad. Meanwhile, thousands of supporters of cleric Muqtada al-Sadr filled a central Baghdad square today, disregarding government pleas to scrap protests that were warned to be a distraction from the war against Daesh group. They came with demands to fight corruption and overhaul a governing system based on ethnic, sectarian and party quotas. Hundreds of Ugandans affected by fighting that flared up in the South Sudanese capital Juba in recent days were gathered on the outskirts of Juba today, waiting to be evacuated by the Ugandan army. The UN's refugee agency said at least 36,000 people have been displaced after fighting between forces loyal to South Sudan's president and his rival. Juba has been calm since Monday, where Kir and Riek Machar, the former rebel leader and now vice president, ordered their forces to cease hostilities. The violence has raised fears of a collapse of a near one-year-old peace deal. The Ministry of Defense in Afghanistan announced that more than 60 militants and 7 members of the security forces were killed in a number of regions in Afghanistan in security operations during the last 24 hours. The statement of the ministry added that Afghani defense and security forces conducted offensive operations in regions of Nangarhar, Paktia, Maidan, Kandahar, Farah and Helmand, killing 62 militants and wounding 30 others. Oman oil price September delivery reached $43.75. Dubai Mercantile Exchange said that the price of Oman oil increased by 40 cents from the price of yesterday, Thursday, which was $43.35. The average price of Oman oil July delivery 2016 has stabilized at $44 and 33 cents, thus $4.93 per barrel higher than June delivery 2016. In harmony with the charming nature during Kharif season in the Governorate of Dhofar, the building of Etin Studio, which is affiliated to the Public Authority for Radio and Television, appeared in its new suit to broadcast Kharif weather and other related activities for the audience. The building, which was constructed on 10,000 square meters, is a new addition for the radio and television scope of work. It includes two main sections. The first one is the administration building, which contained two main halls for receiving guests, in addition to montage, makeup, communications and technical workrooms, and the other section will be for the broadcast studio. Now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of Dhofar and its nearby mountains, with chances of intermittent drizzle and fog. The rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies with chances of cloud accumulation and scattered rain over the Hajar Mountains. Winds will be northeasterly light to moderate over the coasts of Sea of Oman, while on the coastal areas of the Arabian Sea, it will be southwesterly moderate to active. Seas will be rough along the coasts of the Arabian Sea with a maximum wave height of 5 meters and slight to moderate along the rest of the coasts with a maximum wave height of 1.5 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Sultanate condemns and denounces the terrorist ramming attack which took place in the French city of Nice. France declares 3 days of national mourning and extends the state of emergency for another 3 months after 84 people were killed in a terrorist attack in Nice. And Salalah Tourism Festival activities start under the theme Oman, Love and Peace. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here in the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.